What's going on there, YouTube? And welcome back to another comic book video. This is the channel where we sit down and cover different comic book videos from different comic book companies. Today, we're going to jump back over to DC Comics and continue to cover more New 52 content, except this time, we're gonna cover New 52 Aquaman once again. I covered this years ago, but I feel like I can do a better job now. So we are going to cover the New 52 Aquaman one more time, but this time a whole lot better. So if you do like today's comic book video, please hit that like button down below and also subscribe to the channel for more content to come in the near future. But I do hope you enjoy today's video. In the opening of this book, we start off in the bottom of the ocean, where we see some kind of monsters swimming up to the surface. Now, these monsters are going to be the focal point, not just in this video, but also in other videos we are going to cover down the road for New 52 Aquaman. This is not a small amount of monsters. There are actually a pretty good amount of them swimming up to the surface to attack the surface world. Now we jump over to Aquaman, where we see there is some kind of police chase going on in Boston where some thugs are trying to escape from the police. Now this moment is actually very important. There is a good reason why I'm covering Aquaman actually stopping this police chase, because one of the vocal points of Geoff Johns' writing for Aquaman is to make him cool. Over the years, Aquaman has been the laughingstock for the Justice League members. It is just that he is someone who talks to fishes and swims really fast underwater. Except this is Geoff Johns writing that even in DC Comics, the public in the comics look at Aquaman the same way. When he's able to stop these thugs from getting away, after that, you have the police talk to him like he is some kind of a joke of a superhero. Really, the thugs weren't scared of him until he stopped them. This next section is just like the last one, where you have Aquaman going to a restaurant to get something to eat. Doesn't seem like anything, but when he walks in and orders fish and sticks, everyone begins to freak out because they think that he is Aquaman and that he should not be eating fish. Their other reason is that with him being able to talk to fishes, that he should not be eating fishes. Where you have Aquaman explain that he doesn't simply talk to fishes, that he actually controls their minds to complete tasks that he needs done. This leads to a lot of other questions, but at the end of the day, you have Aquaman leave because he is tired of being the joke of the league, but also tired of dealing with annoying people asking annoying questions. Later that night, we see Aquaman go home to the lighthouse where he is greeted by Mera, of course, the Aqua Woman of this universe. Mera has your usual super strength, but she also has the ability to control the water or bend the water in a way to use it as a weapon against her enemies. This is where we learn that this is an Aquaman who has abandoned Atlantis. He talked about the moment where Atlantis first came for him, but the way he speaks, it is him wanting to stay on land with Mera and protect the surface world. Mera is actually okay with the idea of leaving Atlantis behind because it gives her the chance to stay with Aquaman like she wants to. Now, to close on the first chapter of this book, we see that those monsters we saw in the beginning of the book have arrived to the surface world, where we see them about to attack a ship full of fishermen out there just doing some work. This is Geoff Johns letting us know right off the bat that these monsters are going to be the main vocal point for this book, but also that it is Geoff Johns saying get ready for things to pop off, because this is only the beginning for Aquaman in the New 52. The next chapter opens up with the same thing still happening. We see the monster attack the boat full of fishermen, which honestly, they don't even stand a chance against them. We see these monsters brutally kill these men. You would think that maybe Aquaman is going to show up any minute now to save them, but the point of the book is that Aquaman is unaware of this incident. Plus, this is supposed to be a new thing that Aquaman never saw or heard about before. This leads us back over to Aquaman and Mera looking at some old photos of him when his human dad and him lived alone in the lighthouse. Some of them from their trips as well, but this is a Aquaman who is happy to be away from Atlantis. The question is, what happened that made him want to leave Atlantis behind like this? If he is up here, then who is down there making sure Atlantis is okay? Before those questions are answered, that is when we see that the police sheriff from the town where those monsters killed those fishermen appears. He is here asking for Aquaman's help because what happened in his town. Plus, we know it had to be a brutal scene. That is when we learn that the policeman that claims to be the sheriff of the city where the attack happened is really not even the sheriff of the city. He is your regular day cop, but he went against orders to get Aquaman because this seems like something he should see and be able to handle. So you have Aquaman and Mera walk into the crime scene to look for clues, where you have Aquaman use his ability to control a fish mind to see that maybe there is some kind of sea monsters hiding in the ocean. Except that is when we find out that Aquaman is unable to sense the monsters that attack the fishermen. Then as soon as they find a cocoon in the middle of the ocean and bring it out, that is when Aquaman detects something else hiding in the boat. That is when they are attacked by the same monsters we saw earlier, that apparently they have been staying inside the boat hiding for the right time to attack. Of course, this is the right time for them to attack. You have Mera also jump in to help Aquaman out against these monsters, and also because that is her man. But the point of this section, when these monsters begin to think about how Aquaman, Mera, and the people surrounding the area as food, it seems that Aquaman is able to understand what they are saying. To Aquaman, now he wants to know where these monsters came from. Now this fight is getting pretty brutal between the two sides here. Aquaman is trying to protect the people who are here, defeat these monsters, but also hoping to learn more about them. Aquaman also begins to realize that a wave of these monsters could be too much for them to handle on their own. Speaking of him and Mera, where this fight begins to go on for a decently long amount of time, it does end with the monsters getting what they wanted, which of course are the people they want for food. They leave in a hurry, but again, we begin to see these monsters speak, and they talk about every person they have captured as some kind of food. After that fight, this is where you have Aquaman, Mera, and the policeman begin to investigate the scene, hoping to learn more about these monsters. That is when the cocoon begins to break open, where we see that there is even a dog inside one of the cocoons, telling Aquaman that these monsters don't even care that if it is human or a dog, to them it is still food. That is when Aquaman and Mera see that one of the monsters is still alive but trapped under some debris. So one of the policemen kills it off. But that is when Aquaman tells the police that he is going to take this monster somewhere else to someone who may be able to know a lot about these things and finally get some answers that everyone wants. We see Aquaman and Mera go to the house of a man who apparently helped Aquaman get control of his powers and use them well. But Aquaman says after learning about how to use his powers, he tried to kill him. This man's name is Stephen Shin. where we see the inside of this man's house. He has news articles about Aquaman hanging up on the wall, so we know it has to do something about secrets Aquaman did not tell Stefan that changed everything. But we see that Stefan opened the door to let Aquaman and Mera in to look at one of these creatures to learn more about it. Stefan Shin begins to work on learning more about this monster, where you have Stefan Shin begin to say the spit or fluid coming from the mouth of these creatures, well, they can actually paralyze someone. Well, a regular human being. Then about how much food these creatures have to eat to just survive is a high amount. After that, Shin speaks about the way the body works. It comes from some of the lowest sections of the ocean, meaning that they are coming from the trenches. That leaves Aquaman and Mera basically agreeing to go to the trenches to find these monsters to learn more about them and also stop them as well. They take the body away from Shin because to Aquaman, Shin could be a dangerous man actually if he keeps anything from Atlantis, but also he begged Aquaman to tell him where Atlantis is at, telling us no one knows where Atlantis is at except Aquaman, Mera, and the people from Atlantis. Now, another reason why Mera and Aquaman are going to the trenches is to see if any of the people the creatures have taken are still alive. Remember that these creatures have put people in cocoons earlier and took them down to the trenches of the ocean to be reserved as food. Also, Aquaman realized that if they are eager to get food, they are starving, and means they could be close to death or extinction. I just butchered that word again. Anyways, seems that Aquaman feels bad for the creatures actually. Now when they get down there, they get to find some kind of underwater cavern down there. The cavern is pretty impressive, but this is telling Aquaman that maybe they have been around for a long time. The question is, how long? That is when they find a ship or a submarine from ancient Atlantis. This means before Atlantis had fallen under the ocean. But what were they doing down here for? Aquaman can tell that the people who were from ancient Atlantis were eaten by these creatures, just because the breach into the ship gives it away. We then see the creatures come out of nowhere to attack Aquaman and Mera. At this point, we're going to call these creatures the trenches, where we see Aquaman and Mera fight against these creatures, but also find the people who were kidnapped earlier to be the trenches' food. So we see Mera use her powers to push a wall of the cocoons up to the surface. This is also the moment you have the queen of the the trenches appear. Where we see that the reason why they took all of those people earlier is not just to feed themselves, but to feed their queen and the children as well. Now Aquaman realized he can cause a volcanic eruption here in the lower level. His goal is to hope to seal these creatures in the lower section of the ocean to protect the people from them. So you have Aquaman and Mera basically being able to seal the trenches up with the trenches creatures and also being able to get the people who are stuck in cocoons back to the surface. The book closes on Aquaman being able to get all of those people up the surface, and the dog from earlier doesn't have a home to go to. His owner are no longer around. So you have Aquaman and Mera adopting the dog. But this will not be the first time we will see those creatures from the trenches. That down the road, something else will bring those creatures back, and we will learn more why those creatures have some kind of connection to Atlantis. It will all be explained over the next few videos. But this is where we are going to end today's video. So please hit that like button down below and also subscribe to the channel for more content to come in the near future. Also, any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But I do hope you enjoyed today's video. Later, guys.